A group of South Kingstown residents are turning to 10 tonight after they claim they have a growing mold problem at their low-income senior living apartment. They say management just isn't acting fast enough.
So they are taking matters into their own hands. NBC 10's Molly Levine reports from South Kingstown.
This is my coat hanging.
A moldy mess. That's what a number of residents are calling the elderly low-income La Casa apartments at Rodman Commons.
Never been so sick in my life since I moved here.
I knew what mold looked like.
It was on her clothes, in her closet.
And the biggest problem I'm having now is inhaling all these spores. I'm getting sick.
From their closets to their walls to communal storage rooms, residents claim mold is taking over their space and their health.
On and off, I keep getting headaches. And now I have severe asthma.
And you go outside, it's like you can breathe better.
These residents say they've contacted management. They say maintenance has bleached and painted over the problem, but no sign of a long-term fix. So some of them took matters into their own hands.
I wanted to prove there was no mold, so my son paid $400 to do a test.
Taking her own mold samples around her apartment and her friends, then sending it for independent testing.
The mold spores per million were in the tens of thousands, which is exceedingly high.
She said she showed the results to apartment management, who brought in another company to do its own testing. Those results showed much lower levels. We reached out to Women's Development Corporation Housing Opportunities Corporation, which operates the South Kingstown apartment complex. The executive director tells us they did uncover the possible presence of mold 1 month ago. They say tenants were not in immediate danger, but they did hire a remediation company to conduct deep cleaning. Residents say it's not enough.
They come in with rags and cleaned. That's not going to get what's behind the wall.
The Department of Health was also made aware of the mold.
We shouldn't have to live like this. We're old.
Just want to make it so we're at ease. I don't want to die from mold.
Reporting in South Kingstown, Molly Levine, NBC 10 News.
Our heavy rains have also caused a lot of flooded basements in homes and apartments all over the metro area, and that's leading to a serious health concern. Tonight, CBS 4's Tom Mustin checking in. Tom, I know you talked to one of those flooding victims. They begin cleanup with a new worry.
That's right, Jim. We're talking about mold. Now, we knew it was coming after all this rain, and now it's officially here. In this case, the water came sailing down this hill here and went right into the apartment here behind me. And the family says what they've been through is nothing short of a nightmare.
It still stinks like hell in here.
Naomi Rogers has had enough.
The carpet was just saturated. You could walk on it, it would just make this squishing sound.
Thursday's heavy rain flooded her apartment at the Pines of Castle Rock, soaking her carpet and leaving visible spots of mold in the home. Nearly a week later, the carpet and most of her family's belongings are still damp.
Saturday night was really bad. I couldn't breathe. I was opening the windows.
Naomi and her husband don't have flood insurance and can't afford to stay in a hotel. They've shipped their 5 kids off to live with relatives until the problem is fixed.
Their rooms are destroyed. There's no drywall. Their closets are wet.
And Naomi is not alone.
It's probably a black mold.
Travis Chansey with Abbott's Fire and Flood says our recent rains have been unprecedented and dangerous mold is everywhere.
And now we're seeing over 100 calls a day, and we had over 500 over the weekend.
Chansey says when the mold is visible, as in Naomi's case, it poses a respiratory risk, and families should leave immediately until the problem is addressed.
When it releases this type of mycotoxin into the air, it spreads throughout the home through the air conditioning system, the air handlers, and that causes more cross-contamination.
And as Naomi waits for her nightmare to end, she has a message for Mother Nature.
Yes, I was like, please stop raining.
A little bit of good news tonight. The property manager called me this evening and said they decided to put this family up in a hotel until the problem is fixed. So that is certainly great news. The bad news, though, is that the mold problem here across the metro area is just getting started. We're live in Castle Rock. Tom Mustin, CBS 4 News.
And it's a tough problem, Tom. Thanks very much. We learned about this story from a news tip. If you have a story idea, give us a call, 303-863-TIPS, or just visit cbsdenver.com.
Well, the mom says the Houston Housing Authority, which oversees the Cooney Homes apartment complex, has ignored her cries for help. Devin Clark is in the 3rd Ward tonight with her story.
That woman says the conditions she's been living in have been uncomfortable, sickening, and expensive. Tonight, the HHA vowing that its clients are its top priority and promising to make things right.
You smell it.
The smell of sour air and mildew fills the top floor of this CUNY Homes apartment in 3rd Ward. The tenant, who's asked not to be identified, is convinced that this
Right here, right here, right here.
is the source of the stench.
And I didn't even notice. She told me to pull the blinds back, and she said it's all over his blinds. That's what the inspector showed me.
The mother of 3 young boys says black and white mold began growing.
It was a whole bunch of furry stuff, and it looks almost like a caterpillar.
3 months ago, she says a Houston Housing Authority crew removed the AC unit upstairs in order to make repairs. She says not only did they not replace the AC, they also failed to properly seal the window.
My baby is complaining.
She says health issues with her 3-year-old son began to surface.
He started giving like this raspy cough.
She says the rest of the family developed breathing issues as well, and her oldest son started getting nosebleeds. She says she was forced to shell out money to stay in a hotel as long as she could afford it.
This is unacceptable, and so this requires a federal investigation because those families should not be living like that. This is under the Houston Housing Authority. They have a responsibility to ensure that these people don't live like this.
And some good news, the HHA says that AC unit has now been replaced, and they're putting the family up in a hotel until the unit is up to standard. The woman you heard from in the story says she also wants to be reimbursed for hotel costs that she shelled out and also have her furniture replaced, and the HHA says it's working on that as well. You can read that full statement on our website, click2houston.com. Reporting in 3rd Ward, Devin Clark, KPRC 2 News.
A moldy mess. That is what some residents living in a Pittsburgh public housing community say they've been dealing with for far too long. And they contacted Channel 11's Liz Kilmer for help. She has the story now from Brookline. Some folks living in the Mazza Pavilion building here really just can't catch a break. First, they were displaced by a fire back in 2022, and that water damage, they say, has now created issues with dampness and mold after moving back in.
This is no way for people to live. Come on now, you know what I'm saying?
Kimberly Manfredo and neighbors in the Mazza Pavilion, an apartment building run by the Pittsburgh Housing Authority, have stains and blotches all over. Mold, they say, as proven on tests they paid for.
Mine showed several types of mold. I don't want people in the building to be sick.
In 2022, the residents were displaced for several weeks after a firefight within the Brookline building. Valerie Liadis says there was significant water damage, and when they moved back in, things felt musty and now remain moist.
The rug is damp since 2022.
Kimberly called in the county health department. She provided us with this inspection report, which lists a violation of, quote, mold, mildew, or other growth on floor requiring corrective action. That was in February. Residents say they've called the City Housing Authority to follow up, but nothing's been done.
It's just like, we need to get a little push under them because I can't live like this no more.
We reached out to the Housing Authority Monday morning to ask if anything is being done to clean up the apartments. Not long after that, they apparently called Valerie.
He just called me this morning and said, you know, when I tell you it's going to get done, it's going to get done. And I'm like, you're probably placating me right now, too. So.
And he asked if you contacted the news.
He did.